Life is one big head game. And once you learn to play the head game, it's no longer a game anymore at all. You start living your life.
Welcome to another episode of One Big Headgame, the podcast that we talk about everything to do with your mind, essentially. Anything to do with your mind and trying to harness the power of it is what we're really trying to do. We're trying to bring on influential people in our community here in Lafayette, Louisiana, where these individuals have either overcome big obstacles or they're highly successful or they've had a lot of challenges in their life and they have unique stories that we all can learn from. If you're trying to do something in your own life, if you're trying to get over something, get over a big challenge, or just generally succeed and change yourself, this would be good content for you. Today we have a really special guest, man. I've known this guy for only a short period of time, but I've heard a lot about him. And he's a shifty cat, I'll tell you that much. Like, he knows a lot of stuff, obviously, and he's gained a lot of success, seemingly, in our community and beyond. We're going to talk a lot about that. And really excited to have him on. He's got a unique perspective on a specific market of business that a lot of people don't know about, I would say. His name is Josh Goree. He is you the CEO? What do you call yourself, man?
I always hate when people say CEO.
I know.
Yeah, I know. It's like it feels like everyone's kind of like drawn that out so much. I'm the CEO.
Yeah,
I'm the
it's
CEO.
a one-man band.
Yeah, I don't even like telling people I own the company.
Right.
It's just like, hey, we're a team. You know? We're all trying to go. We're all trying to reach the same goal. So
that's right.
Yeah.
Well, nonetheless, he's the founder of Completeful.
Completeful.
Right, Completeful. And I'll let him tell you a little bit about the business, but it involves creating a lot of unique products for people to sell all over the place, internationally in some cases, right?
Yep.
And he's doing a lot of business, helping a lot of people create their own businesses as well. So just tell them a little bit about yourself, man. Tell them a little bit about what you do at Completeful, and we'll go from there.
Yeah. So the inception of Completeful was me selling wedding items. And so I was taking items and just basically doing like groomsmen gifts and sold those to one of my friends. Then one of like the guys in his wedding was like, "Hey man, can you do my groomsmen gifts?" And then some guy in that guy's wedding was like, "Can you do?" I was like, I think I may be onto something. It was kind of like a hobby at the time, just trying to learn marketing. And so started doing that, started selling these wedding items, and as things grew, I started buying more and more machines that could do engraving, that could do printing, that could do sublimation, that could do embroidery, all these other things. And then once I realized that there was a lot of people that wanted to do the same thing, that wanted to use these lasers, use these printers, but didn't really have the capital to get started,
To buy that equipment,
to buy that that equipment. I said I'd kind of seen some softwares out there that allowed people to use their equipment. And so I commissioned these guys, had them build out this app that will allow people to design their own t-shirt, make their own hat, make their own tumbler, make their own, whatever it is, they can print a design on it, even if it's just a funny quote. And that kind of stuff does really well. And so they can create their own business, they can sell all this merch, and they don't have to pay for anything up front. You don't have to go buy 120 shirts and hope that you can turn around and sell them.
Right.
You can just basically throw free darts until one sticks. And we've seen a lot of individuals have a lot of success doing it that way, but now a lot of companies are kind of catching on as well. So we fulfill a lot of orders for like Kirkland's and Hobby Lobby, and they'll just create 1,000 new designs, put it on their online store. And then once they start selling, we're making it, we're shipping it to their customer. And then if they do want to buy it in bulk and put it in their store, they come to us for that as well. So it's pretty neat.
Yeah, that's very interesting. It's built out now, clearly.
This
is a serious business.
It started out basically just printing, but now we've got into actual manufacturing. So we can make just about anything. And so we make a lot of stuff on demand.
Yeah, I think the first time I met you, you said print on demand was a piece of your business, or that was kind of what they were calling that side of the business at the time. I don't know what it's transformed
Print on
into.
demand. So it's basically three different types of of a company. So one of them is the print on demand model. We do fulfillment as well, so we store a lot of people's products in house, and because we ship out so much, we have really aggressive shipping rates. And so instead of let's say you want, like, we fill orders for Dick's chips.
Yeah.
And it's a really funny bag of chips, and he's just like, everyone, bag of Dicks, and he's like, you're eating my chips is making us bigger. It's funny. And they sell, the guy sells a bunch of chips, but we hold all the chips for him. And whenever someone places an order, we package it up, we ship it to his customer, and so he doesn't have to have all this warehouse space. He doesn't have to have employees. He doesn't have to have do any of that. Yeah. Basically, all he needs to do is sell the chips.
But that's not an item that is posted on Completeful's interface ordinarily, right? Is that a deal that they come to you, they find out what you're doing, and then they try to facilitate a direct business relationship with your company?
If I had to rely on our website to bring us in business, we would be in bad shape, because our website,
Okay,
our website is awful.
Well, I mean, just the interface, like where you can pick and choose the different items, right?
Yeah.
Because
So
I did before, I did check it out.
Yeah. The app of Completeful is a lot better than the website. So
Okay.
and the app is still very limited. I had a meeting right before I came here to really push on growing that aspect of it and make it extremely user friendly.
Okay, so a lot of this is really just business deals, with other companies that find out what you're doing and find out that you're good at fulfilling different orders because of the capacity you have.
A lot of word of mouth.
Right. Interesting. I didn't know that when we first talked about it. It sounded like a purely, it's a Shopify connection application. Everybody finds it on there, and it's just smaller products like that. But the picture of your business is definitely different than I thought in the beginning.
Yeah, and we've had quite a few people that have found us through Shopify or word of mouth that just completely organic, found us and started doing very well. Yeah, and so it is not all necessarily people that we know, but there are a couple of randoms out there that we have. We had this one guy. I'm not gonna say his name, but we had this one guy that I have no idea who he is. For Christmas, he was selling like $15,000-$20,000 a day in one product. Yeah. Had no idea who this guy is. He created this product and was just killing it. Yeah. And so right after Christmas, I had Haley, our vice president of business development, reach out to him and say, "Hey man, like, we'll fly you in, like, try to work together." And I was like, if you're able to sell this much without any coaching and any knowledge on how to actually use our system, I was like, if we gave you all the tools that we have, you could do really well.
Yeah, really cool, man. Yeah. That's awesome. So let's talk a little bit about you and your entrepreneurship journey. That's definitely what's interesting to me. I want to hear about, how you started and really what makes you the candidate for getting where you are now. How old are you?
32.
32 years old. Yep. There's only one other 32-year-old that I know that is got this big, this fast, like this big growth. Yeah. So a lot of people don't understand what it is. I didn't have that growth. I'm 35, so I haven't experienced that big of a growth spurt, if you will, in business thus far. So tell us a little bit about, what that was like and, what it was like handling that. That's a lot more. Did you expect to be moving around that amount of money at one time? Yeah, everybody wants to be successful. They want those things, or they think they do, right?
Yeah, they think they do.
They think they do until they spend a day in your shoes.
Exactly.
But what was that like? Did you have to change your mindset as that growth period was happening? Tell us a little bit about that growth. And you personally.
Yeah. So I was in college, was going to school for engineering, and one of my best friends, I was on the track team there, one of my best friends on the track team, he's one of my biggest clients today.
Really?
He got involved in business with us,
cool.
Yes. So awesome. I, being a typical engineer, was a total introvert. My people skills were pretty bad. And I grew up in a really small town, went to a really small high school, graduated with 50 people. Yeah. So not a lot of interaction. Yeah. And so... Anyway, he tells me about this network marketing company, and I get started in it, and he's basically doing all the talking. He was the salesman. He's the extrovert. He's out, doing all the selling. And all I had to do was basically put people in front of him. Uh-huh. But he's 4 years older than me, so he graduated college, and he begins his journey to go to dental school. And he tells me, he's like, if you want this business to continue to grow, he's like, you're going to have to be the one that does the talking.
Yeah.
And I was making $500 a month, maybe $1,000 a month at this time from this business. But I was in college and broke college student, so that was a lot of money, you know, for me at the time. And so
when he told you you had to kind of you're gonna have to level up this specific skill set, you know, what was that like for you? Did you hesitate? Or what was that like?
fear.
Yeah. That's what.
It was more a, I know that I can do this. I'm just gonna have to get through it.
Yeah.
And so went out, did a few of my own presentations, and they were awful. I would just get really nervous. I would just completely miss the point of some of the presentations, and just and I said, you know what? What I need to do is I need to use a lot of repetition to push through, you know, this fear, because that's what, and my heart would start racing. You know, I'd start sweating, and then I couldn't get out anything that I wanted to say.
Yeah.
And so went to Dallas with a friend of mine, stayed there for about 3 months. I probably did 1,000 presentations in those 3 months.
Yeah.
Just anybody that I could talk to. Then getting to the point where I could talk to, you know, I could go up to a random person, not even a person that was just he introduced me to, but anybody I could go up and talk to.
Yeah.
And being able to develop that skill is, I think, the most important part of entrepreneurship.
Okay, let's stop there. What skill? You know, is it the skill of speaking to people, or is it the skill of getting over a fear like that you have? You know?
Yeah. You're
both.
Yeah. Definitely speaking to people.
For sure.
I mean, obviously, getting over the fear, you're going to have to do that regardless.
All the time.
Yeah,
right?
you're going to have to do that regardless.
Yeah.
But anytime you're faced with a difficult, obstacle that's in front of you, and you need to take that next step to get past it. It's tough. You know, most people don't. You're comfortable, and if you, especially as you make more money, you get more and more comfortable, and you get used to being that comfortable, right?
Yeah.
So it's hard. You have to start putting yourself back into uncomfortable situations constantly.
Yeah.
Otherwise, you're going to just, it's like working out. You know, you work out and you get fit, but if you stop working out, you know, you're gonna lose it. And the same thing happens for entrepreneurship. You know, anybody that's a CEO, or that's anybody that's running a company, if you're not actively trying to get better every single day, you're getting worse every single day.
Yeah, that's a really good point. I've heard a lot of that, and I believe the same thing. You know, it's like you're never going to stand still. You know, it's like you're either going to continue to grow at some level, at some speed, or you're going to retract. You know, you're never just going to stay the same. But you're right. Like if you as you proceed in business and you do overcome those obstacles, and you make a good amount of money, you know, you can insulate yourself from all those things, and you can create a comfortable scenario for you that you don't really have to step out of. You know?
Yeah.
And challenging yourself every day. I'm sure you've had to do that, the whole way through.
Yeah. And typically whenever I experience something that I don't like, my first thought is, how do I make sure this doesn't happen again?
Yeah, let's go.
Yeah, let's fix this.
Yeah.
And so I've, like most of the problems that people have, most problems that people experience, especially in my situation, I have built like safety nets to where most of those problems, those issues I don't even have to deal with.
Yeah.
And so that is a good thing and a bad thing. One is it's not taking up my time. It's not, I'm not spending time on a problem that I've had before, solving it again.
Right.
But it also doesn't challenge you.
Mm-hmm.
So that's the kind of the con there. And so I try to constantly put myself in challenging situations, like getting my pilot's license, learning a new language, learning, reading books, developing a skill that is not in my nature.
Right.
Yeah. And when people say they mention like hard work, I always bring this up. They're like, I think like every wealthy person always says, work hard and I'll outwork anybody. But you have to kind of define what hard work is. And so for me, when I think about hard work isn't going and working, shift work 16 hours a day. People say that's hard labor, but that's not hard work. And the way that I think about that is hard work is developing a skill and doing something that challenges you in a way where most people wouldn't do it.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. Or even if most people did, you in particular, in your nature, wouldn't.
Yes,
Right. Like,
yes.
like that would be, it is hard. Like if you have a fear of speaking or something like that, it is hard for you to get up in front of 50 people. You know?
And I think everyone's heard this, but like the fear of speaking is above fear of death.
Yeah. I've heard that.
Yeah. And so
So funny, man.
hard work is taking that fear of speaking in front of people and going out and actually doing it.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
developing the skill of being able to speak in front of people.
Mm-hmm.
Going and doing a monotonous job for 16 hours a day, even if it is taxing on your body, is hard labor,
Yeah.
but not really hard work.
Yeah.
And so hard work is for me is doing something that makes me really uncomfortable, but will make me grow to be a better person than who I was yesterday.
Yeah, that's really interesting, man.
Yeah.
That's really good content, especially for people watching this one, you know, because I haven't heard it talked about like that, and that's very true. So what in your nature, you know, you said like speaking at that time, you know, when you were in the network marketing company, right?
Yeah.
So you kind of got over that, you know. Let's go back to your story. You know, you did that, and you got better at it, right? Like from our conversations before, you started succeeding in that program, right?
Yeah. Started succeeding. You fast forward a year after me going to Dallas and doing all those presentations,
Yeah.
and I'm speaking in front of 20, 50,000 people at events.
Dang.
And
What kind of events? Like, I mean,
it was network
is
marketing
it like
events.
okay,
so every
everybody
quarter,
involved.
so yeah, they bring everybody in, and you're basically up there motivating people and training them. And
Yeah. And you were chosen to do that because you were succeeding in the program, right?
Yes,
Yeah.
yes.
Yeah.
And eventually, they end up making me like the poster boy of the company.
Yeah.
And they would fly me out to Orlando. I'd film all these videos. It was an awesome experience. And like I said before, I would have never been able to build the company that I have now without having that ability to not necessarily just talk to people, but communicate a vision to someone. This is where we are, and this is where we're going. Do you want to be a part of that?
Yeah.
And getting people on board with being basically committing themselves to being a part of this team that's going to do whatever it takes to get the job done.
Right.
And that's really hard to do.
Yeah.
Because most people, you know, they would see me as, well, he's just trying to make money.
Yeah.
He's just trying to make an extra.
Oh, yeah.
He's just trying to put me to get, you know, put in a little extra work, you know, for him to, you know, make extra money. And one of the things that I've done to kind of combat that is I don't pay myself anything from Completeful.
Mm-hmm.
So personally, I don't get paid a penny
Yeah.
from Completeful. And so whenever we're handing out bonuses, whenever we're making decisions on who gets paid this and what equipment should we buy and this and that, it's really easy for me to make those decisions because I have no skin in the game.
Yeah.
Right. I'm not getting paid. So whenever I tell someone this is what we're going to do, it's not because I'm trying to make more money.
Yeah.
You know, right? It's because I'm trying to make everybody else more money.
Well, yeah. I mean, you're trying to grow your company. Certainly, at the end of the day, you know. I mean,
Yeah,
you're trying to make
you're trying to make the company make more money to pay people you know, those that are working there more money and constantly grow and you know build that environment.
But it is about, you know, I've experienced that too, and that's a challenge for myself personally is not really getting people necessarily to just buy in, but to go down a road with you.
Yeah.
When the road is uncertain, you know, you don't know. Like when you started Completeful, you didn't know where it was going. You hired your first few people, whatever it was. Those first few people, you didn't know where it was going to go, and it was a risk for them, and you knew about the risk, and I'm sure you made that known to them to a certain degree, right?
Yeah.
But it's definitely a different thing because, you know, where you're at right now, many more people are relying on you, right?
Yeah.
So growing a business is not just about like, you know, showing up for work or doing these things. You're structuring your life, you're structuring your employees' lives. Everybody around is being impacted by what you're doing, right?
Yeah.
How is that responsibility being held by you? You know, you're a young guy. Like most people who are older, who have a lot more experience than you, haven't been in your position with the size of company that you're doing. So, you know, is it you're young and like you don't feel as much pressure as other people, or how do you deal with that? Because it's a lot of responsibility.
Yeah, I'm pretty good with dealing with stress and pressure.
Okay, good.
There's not much that really, I think over the course of time, I've had so many big ups and downs.
Yeah.
That like my baseline doesn't move a lot anymore.
Kind of desensitized a little bit
yes,
to it.
very, very desensitized to a lot of things. So when things would happen in the past and I would think this is the end of the world. This is the end of the world.
Yeah.
And it would keep me up for, 2 or 3 days, can't go to sleep. And at the end of the day, it's as soon as you build that confidence knowing after you've dug yourself out of so many holes,
Yeah.
you're like, it's just another hole I'm going to have to dig myself out of.
Yeah, and that's what everyone's talking about when they're talking about business, and it takes time. It takes time to get to even experience those ups and downs,
Yeah.
right? Like when you're first starting out, you just have to go through that, right?
Yeah. And one thing that I've kind of come to this realization of recently is a lot of people will come and ask me for advice, you
Yeah.
know, and then I would always say, well, I wish I knew this when I was your age, and I wish I knew this,
Yeah.
whenever I first got started, or I wish I knew this. And I started thinking, I was like, if I could talk to 10-year younger me and give him all the knowledge that I have right now,
Right.
all the advice,
Yeah.
by the time he's my age, he would probably be a lesser version of me
Yeah.
because he
wouldn't have to go through the up and down.
he didn't have to go through all the up and downs. And so if you took that person and he had all that knowledge and put him in my shoes right now, as soon as the like today,
This is
we've had
interesting.
as soon as an issue would arise, he would probably flip out, lose it, and just be like, "Oh my gosh, this is the end of the world." Wouldn't make the right decision, probably making a very emotional decision, and would do something incorrectly.
Yeah.
And so now it's more about not letting the emotions get to you, so that you make a logical decision and not one based on excitement or fear. And they can have, honestly, I think excitement is probably in business worse than fear,
Yeah.
because people make really dumb decisions because they're excited about how much money this deal is going to make. But they don't realize is how bad it can go.
Yeah.
And so I've done that.
You
So
spend a lot of
you
money
spend
too
a
when
lot,
you're excited,
And
right?
so there's literally this week I had a deal, really big company that we were looking at acquiring out of Salt Lake City.
Mm-hmm.
And I've spent the last 2 weeks kind of looking at this deal, and they're in a bind. Pretty sure they're going to file bankrupt. I think they filed bankruptcy today, and it would have been a really good deal for us to acquire them. It would have probably doubled our revenue, which would have been huge. Taking on another couple hundred employees, a big warehouse in Salt Lake City, would have expanded our business into a completely different region and a lot of different sales channels. And everyone on my team wanted to do that deal.
Yeah.
They were excited about it. They're like, man, all the new money and machines and things we're going to be able to do, and everyone's excited about it. And I just they were like, you don't seem very excited about it. And what's going on? And I was like, I'm just kind of letting it all, go through my head and kind of see what, exactly what this deal is. And at the end of the day, it was this huge sum of money we're going to have to come up with. The bank was totally on board. We'll do it. But they're losing money every month. They've been losing money for the past 2 years. And I said, if I was going to take all this money and I'm buying a company that's losing money, even though I know that we can turn it around, I know that's not a doubt in my mind. It's like, I know we can make it work, but at what cost?
At what cost to what you already have? Too.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So now I'm going to jeopardize people that work for me currently by trying to save this company and hoping that we can turn it around. And I was like, and I know that we can, but instead of taking all that money and investing it in this company, I was like, what if I just took that money and invested it in like a few apartment complexes that were making money?
Right.
You're not taking a risk. That company's those things have been there for 10 years. They're making money day in, day out. People need a place to live. But here I am looking at acquiring a company that's losing money. I'm going to take this big gamble on in order to fulfill that excitement inside of everyone.
Yeah.
And so I think that excitement will stop a lot of people, will cause a lot more problems sometimes than fear will.
Yeah. It's interesting. So you didn't go forward with that deal.
Because you override the logic. Like I try to look at a deal completely unbiased, and like in the best deals that I've had, some of the best real estate deals, some of the best business investments I've had have come from having that mindset. Just like, if it works, it works. If it don't, it don't. And getting to a point where a deal basically doesn't make sense not to do it. Mm-hmm. It's like, you have to do this. Mm-hmm. If you pass this up, you're an idiot. Mm-hmm. And so if a deal is like that to me, I take it. And not saying it always has to be like that, but that's what I've experienced in the past. And yeah, just not letting those emotions overrule the logic of why are we buying this?
Yeah.
Are we buying it because this company is making money? No. Are we? Why are we actually acquiring this business that has all this debt that's losing money? And it's really easy to let that excitement, make you look past all that.
Yeah, for sure. That's interesting because, you'll never know what actually would happen, right?
Yep.
But it's just like any other business deal. But I guess, what we're highlighting here is like that if you would have bought into that excitement, maybe if you wouldn't have been through some of the ups and downs that you've already been through, right? Maybe if this was 3 years ago and you were presented with the same deal, maybe you treated it different,
Exactly.
And maybe you lose the whole damn party,
Yeah. Yeah. And that's what I was saying. Like 10 years younger than me probably would have taken that deal.
Yeah.
Let's go do that. Yeah. That sounds like a great idea. And then at worst case, it tanks both companies because it's losing so much money.
Yeah.
And that's totally possible.
Right.
But you want to think, what if, and that part is good to think, but it also will lead you and can sometimes lead you in the wrong direction.
Yeah.
And so for me, it's like, yeah, I can think, what if we would have bought that and, grew all this stuff. But instead it's like, well, what did they do to get to, cause the problems that they have? And what do they do to get, the revenue to be, at that point? And so I learned a lot about their inner workings of their business. And so I may be able to buy pieces of it, only the pieces that I want, or the pieces that aren't going to, cause us to have this like big liability,
right.
In the end. So that's
it's not over with.
It's not over with. Yeah.
Something has to happen with all that stuff over
exactly.
there. Right.
And so, but the excitement of the moment made everyone want to do, that deal.
Yeah. Interesting. Okay. So yeah, let's go back to your story. You did
Limu.
Limu.
Yeah.
We haven't mentioned Limu,
Yeah,
but yeah,
that's
network
what it
marketing
was,
company.
yeah.
It was Limu. And then you got into wedding gifts. I've heard you talk about like selecting products and really figuring out a market because you did a lot of things that didn't work before, right?
Yeah.
Like talking about some of your ups and downs. Give the listener a little bit of insight into how they need to approach opportunity in business and audiences and targeting and stuff like that, because that's stuff that you have a lot of skills in.
Yeah.
Clearly.
Almost everyone, and I had this issue, would constantly search for a product and then try to sell it to someone.
Yeah.
What in every business, just about, if you listen to someone, that's how they think.
I know.
I got this T-shirt idea.
Yeah.
I've got this idea. I've got this idea, and it's always some sort of product.
Or service, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And the only thing that they're missing is who you gonna sell it to.
Yeah.
Right. And so when someone comes to me and says, here's all these people that need this thing, that's a good business idea.
Yeah.
Because guess what? They have an audience that are ready to buy a product. And so the way you have to think about it is, if I'm trying to sell someone, let's say I'm trying to sell you a car, but you just bought a car.
Yeah.
Why would you buy another one? You're probably not going to buy you one. So now I'm product oriented first. I do have a really nice car. Someone probably wants it, but who?
Yeah.
And if you can say, oh, here's a demographic of people that need a car, I can just put cars in front of them. They're going to buy one.
Yeah.
So thinking about it, and it's almost in reverse. Thinking about it that way is a lot easier to get sales versus it's like having a cure for cancer, but nobody's got cancer.
Yeah.
It'd be kind of hard to sell it.
Right.
Yeah. But if there's a lot of cancer patients and you have the cure for cancer, it's really easy to go and provide them with what they need.
Right.
And basically, you're just trying to find an audience of people that have a problem, and you've got the solution to it.
Yeah.
Whether that's a product or a service or.
Yeah, that's really good advice for people who are starting businesses, trying to figure out what they're going to do. That's one thing that happened with me. I would say I never really approached that question. When I first started in business, I kind of approached it from a perspective of this is what I can do. I've never been in a product-based business really. I've always been in service-based businesses, but this is what I can handle. This is what I can do, and I'm going to do that. You know what I mean? And I've done that multiple times, and to an extent, I do it. I still do it.
Yeah,
And I make those mistakes until I can come up with the right way to do it. I do what I do best.
Yeah.
But but that's something that when you said that and when we had our first conversation, I was like, oh my gosh, like, that's, I just hadn't thought about it like that.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
that's,
And for me, like that was something a guy said on a video,
yeah,
on a YouTube video that I was watching one day.
Yeah.
It was probably an hour and a half long video.
Yeah.
And the
yeah,
only thing that I got out of that video was that small little nugget
Yeah.
that he had in there.
Yeah.
And he just said it so casually. Just,
Yeah.
He didn't even think much about it.
Right.
And so like, yeah, there's a lot of books and stuff you can read, but it's like there's always one little piece I always find that really changes the way that I operate. And
Yeah.
that's why I like reading a lot, listen to a lot of podcasts, and that those small little nuggets can really change the way that you look at business.
Yeah, for sure. And hopefully somebody listens to this one, like when I first met you and we talked about it, that hit me too. And I've watched some of your social media content and it hits me every time. I'm like, that's probably one of the biggest things that somebody can get from you as far as advice goes. I think you even say that's one of the best pieces of advice you've ever gotten.
Yeah,
right?
it is. Yeah, it is.
And you just saw it on YouTube, right?
Yeah, I just saw it on YouTube.
Wow,
And I likened that to whenever I was in engineering school, every day we came into class, they would make us write down 5 problems that we experienced the day before.
Yeah.
So anything that you didn't like. So if it was raining and you were upset that it was raining,
Yeah.
if you didn't want to wake up early, or any problem you experienced throughout the day, you would write those down and then try to come up with a solution for it. And so every single time we have a problem at our office, or every single time there's this big issue, my first thought is, how many people have this issue? Mm-hmm. If a lot of people have this issue, and we can get a solution to it, that just means we can offer that as a solution to everyone else and sell it.
Yeah.
And that's every single time there's a problem, I see it as an opportunity. Mm-hmm. And so when someone comes to me and they're like, "Oh, this is doing this," I'm like, "That's good." And they're like, "What do you mean that's good?" And I'm like, "That means other people are experiencing this as well."
Yeah.
And if it's a problem, that only we're experiencing, yeah, that's no fun. But whenever you see that this is something that a wide range of people are experiencing and no one has a solution to it yet,
Yeah.
that just, all that means is all you have to do is come up with a solution, and then you can sell that to someone.
Yeah. When you're looking at the time horizon of your business, okay, you have things that you do every day, I'm sure. You have meetings that you have key people that you're talking about specific things, and it's a recurring thing, I'm sure. Different issues, maybe the same issues, whatever. You're in the day-to-day, but when you expand out for your business in your time horizon, like you're 32 years old, do you have a clear direction of where everything is going, how big you want to get? Is there a size limitation that you want out of your business, or is this some sort of thing where you just take it as far as it goes? What's your mentality with sizing up your business? Because scaling's good, but everybody knows as you scale, as you buy a lot of equipment, profit margins go down. Maybe things get more complicated. It's a different business, right? Like, it's way different than when you first started your business. So, so when you approach your business, what do you see when you look at that time horizon? Because you're young. You know what I'm saying? Do you see yourself like doing this for the next 30 years? You know what I'm saying?
So I think it was, pretty sure it's, I thought it was JP, and it's not JP Morgan. It's on the, when I built the very first laser in our office, the guys like built a little shrine for me. I forget who said the quote, but it goes, "Go as far as you can see, and whenever you get there, you'll be able to see further." Yeah. And so, like when people say, "Oh, you had this great idea for Completeful," it's like, no, I didn't. Yeah. I just got started. I just put one foot in front of the other. Yeah. And every single time there was a problem, instead of letting that limit me, I came up with a solution, because a lot of other people were experiencing those same problems. And I just had this conversation recently with our content guy, and he was like, "Man, I'm having to do all this work. I'm getting spread too thin." And I was like, "Everyone has that problem, right?" He said, "Yeah." And I said, "If you figure out a solution to it, you can sell people that solution." Mm-hmm. And he was like, "I never really thought about it that way." And I said, "So start, delegating out some of those tasks." And his business has been growing a lot since. He's like, "It's crazy that most people would have got to this point and said, well, this is all I can handle.
Right.
Yeah, and it's like if you get to that point where you feel like this is all I can handle, that just means you're at a roadblock.
That's good.
Yeah, it is. That's
a very good thing to identify, be cognizant about.
Exactly. It's a good thing because guess what? Everyone else is experiencing that exact same problem.
Yeah.
And so once you come up with a solution to it, you're either going to scale up much bigger than they are, or you're going to be able to sell them that solution.
Right.
And so, do I have a clear vision of where I want Completeful to go? I have ideas, and it could go in this direction, it could go in this direction, it could go in this direction. But I kind of have an idea of if we do go in this direction,
yeah,
this is what this road will look like. If
what you'd want it to look like.
Yeah, what I'd want it to look like. And never would I imagine us being in manufacturing.
Yeah.
Yeah, never thought that would be a thing.
Yeah.
But now,
you don't see, you're not the picture of manufacturing.
Yeah,
you know what I'm
exactly.
saying? Like, if you look at you don't, nothing about you screams manufacturing.
Yeah, I would have never thought that we would be doing manufacturing. But as we hired more engineers and get all this equipment, it's like, man, we could just build this equipment.
Yeah, yeah.
So much cheaper. And all the printers and all the lasers and pretty much every piece of equipment that we buy, we can actually make.
Mm-hmm.
And sometimes it makes me want to become a laser provider.
Yeah.
If we can build our own lasers, we can become a laser company and sell those lasers, right?
Right.
And so there's a lot of different paths,
Sure,
like that. And so I have a vision of where I want us to go, but I don't hold tight on that.
Yeah.
It's good. Yeah, I don't hold tight to that. I kind of let whatever happens happen, and every time there's a problem put in front of us, come up with a solution that kind of guides us in a direction to be better.
Yeah, it's kind of a trap, isn't it? Like I was talking to somebody recently, and they wanted to we were looking at a potential business deal or something like that, right?
Yeah.
And there wasn't a lot of information. It was a space that I'd never really looked at, or I don't know the details of, but it's definitely an opportunity, right? But we were talking about it, and we were talking about and he wanted to go down the road of okay, well, how are we gonna do this and that, or split this work up, or that or that? I'm like, dude, I have no idea. It's I have no idea. I don't even know anything about the business. There's so many more things that we need to figure out to even know what goes on in this space. And he kept pressing, and I could tell that he wanted the certainty. He wanted to know where things were going. And I explained to him, I was like, we just don't know. And we're going to have to be comfortable with that for the time being until we figure those things out. Because once we figure those things out, everything's going to look different, and all of the posturing or structuring that we're trying to do now is a waste of our time and energy. So that was the trap. It was like we could have sat down and created a business plan for the. I'm like,
a waste.
dude,
when people say, "Hey, I have this business plan," I'm like,
"Oh yeah,
you have no idea what kind of revenue you're going to do."
I feel like that's what everybody talks about business plans. I'm like, business plan, like before you start doing business, you have no idea. You don't even know what product you're going to sell.
I have never. Ever.
This is good.
Never ever had one of my friends or anybody in my circle that has done very well talk about a business plan. Not one of them. And if they did talk about a business plan, they would be saying, "Why do people have business plans?"
Yeah, I mean, look, okay, there's something to it, right? Okay, somebody needs to keep track of something and figure out where you're going to a certain extent at some level, right? At your level, knowing somebody's doing something, they're tracking everything, they're putting things on paper. It may not be a formal, business plan, but you've got these things going on clearly.
Yeah.
But yeah, in the beginning, it's in my opinion, it's a waste of time.
No,
you have no idea what you're going to do. You have no idea where you're going to go.
And even if you think that you do have an idea of where you want to go,
it's going to get shattered.
Yeah,
man.
and if you hold on to that idea, it will end up limiting what the company's capable of anyway.
For sure,
Yeah,
because you have to think quickly on your feet, right?
Yeah.
And pivot.
Yeah,
and
exactly.
identify those opportunities that you're talking about.
Yeah, and every single time, if there were plenty of times where I could have held on to an idea and said, "This is what we're going to do. This is what we're going to do. This is where I envision this company going." When I was doing wedding items, I looked at. There's a lot of people in the wedding space. I think there's 2.5 million weddings a year in the United States.
Interesting.
Yeah, it's almost 5,000 weddings a day.
Cool.
Yeah, so
That's crazy,
It's crazy,
man.
yeah. So
That's
you
crazy.
think about 5,000 weddings a day, and I can just sell each one of them.
One,
One
two,
product, yeah.
3.
And there's the Knot, there's like all these like wedding companies that have like dominated that industry,
Yeah.
right? And when I first started selling wedding items, that's what I wanted to be.
You wanted to be the next Knot, right?
Yeah, I wanted to be. Yeah, I
Or
wanted
like,
to be, yeah. All I could think about was weddings, and I obsessed over weddings. But slowly, I got completely away from, not completely away, but slowly I grew away from being a wedding company at all. Yes, we do make a lot of stuff for weddings, but that's just a small portion of what we do now.
Yeah.
And if I'd have held on to that weddings,
kept trying to compete with the Knot or whatever.
holding on to that would have just held me back.
Yeah. That's really interesting. I'm glad you said that about the business plan too, because people talk about that all the time, and I don't know. I don't know anybody who's like.
The only people that come to me with business plans are people that have never been in business.
Yeah.
And they want me to give them money.
Yeah, and it's so funny that many different financial institutions or like
a lot of big ones,
whatever,
like Chase, J.P. Morgan. There were times where I would go to them for a loan, and they would ask me for a business plan.
Yeah,
and I'd be like, "What? Are you kidding me?" Like,
yeah,
it was like,
it's ridiculous.
Yeah, and they gave you a little an outline of what they wanted,
right.
and revenue and this and that, and I was like, well,
You want to make all this up?
Yeah.
Anyway,
I've
done it.
$5 billion next year, $10 billion the year after that.
I did this. I've done the same thing. Like people, they want to see. I'm like, I'll give you something.
Yeah,
it's gonna be trash.
And I'm sitting there looking at the banker, and he's looking at me, and I'm like, do you understand that I can just write down any number on this?
Yeah, he's like, I don't care. I just need it written down. I'm
Yeah.
like, what are we doing here?
Who is looking at this and why? And then whenever you go deal. Like the banks, and that's why I quit dealing like my business dealings as far as like getting credit cards and line of credit and stuff with them. I moved everything to a different bank, and what's funny is that bank never asked for a business plan.
Yeah,
and they hardly ever asked for any information that those banks did.
The information is in the bank account. You know what I'm saying?
You know what's even more crazy?
Like look at the account.
Yeah,
and that's what's going on.
Yeah.
If you can't figure that out in 2 seconds.
Another thing that I ended up realizing is once you have these banking relationships, I used to focus so much on making sure that my credit score was like immaculate.
Yeah,
like
I still do that.
Yeah, like I had,
but
I had at one point like an 813 or somewhere in 800 credit score, and now my credit score is probably 600.
Yeah,
just because I forget to pay things and I don't keep track, and like I'll have a credit card payment go overdue or this and that, and just small things. And but what's funny is my banking relationship now, no one asks me for my credit score.
Well, yeah, it's because the credit score system. Well, we can go down there, man, because I've been all around that, but yeah, it's just set up for people who don't have a lot of money.
Yeah,
unfortunately, the credit.
Once you do,
nobody cares.
Nobody cares.
Yeah, when you show somebody millions of dollars in a bank account, credit. That is my credit.
Yeah,
and if you don't want to do business, I'll just go down. I'll just take this.
Yeah, and they know
so and so $1 million and bring it down the road. You know. Yeah, it's messed up, that whole thing, but it does make a difference in the beginning, right? Like that's why. Let's talk about that because
makes a difference.
Because if you can't go get credit cards, if you can't go do this stuff and confidently pay that stuff off and manage
it's going to take you a lot longer to get things done.
And then or if you have to go to somebody else for a smaller amount of money, like.
And then there's all these myths around credit scores. Like people think if you pay something off faster, it's going to boost your credit score.
Yeah, no,
like no, that's not how that works.
Yeah.
And they're like, yeah, I'm going to get a loan. I pay it off in a day. And I'm like,
dude.
No, don't do that. Leave that account open. Get as many credit cards as you possibly can, but don't carry a balance on any of them.
That's right.
Yeah.
One thing I learned about that some people might not know when I started doing American Express business, I was like, why aren't my limits going up? I'm humming a good amount of money through here but I was paying my credit card off weekly.
Yeah.
Like I was like, boom, boom. I would just charge it. I was just doing it to get the points and keep my credit going and all this kind of stuff, So I would pay it off every week or whenever I thought about it. Oh, it's like 9 p.m. at my house. Boom, pay it off, right? But then I called him and I was like, dude, I need more money on this thing. Like, well, what's going on? And he's like, well, you need to. Somebody over there told me, he's like, you need to get a higher balance
Yes.
and then pay that off.
Yep.
That's what's holding you back. I was like, really? Like, I thought that because I was paying it off so quickly,
You would think that, yeah.
because that does show more, financial stability if you're actively engaged in your credit situation, right?
All they
But
want to see is that
They wanna see
if you've got a
$100,
$20,000 limit, yeah, they
300.
want to see you maxing it out every
yeah,
time.
and then they'll raise it.
Yeah.
It's funny how that works, and it's a frustrating system
Yeah,
for sure.
it is.
You know,
It is, yep.
But yeah, if you're starting a business now, like, credit is a big deal. That's what I tell everybody who comes to me who's like new or young. You know, I'm like, you've got to get
a
your
credit
credit pristine and get it good, and start with the credit cards and start managing that. You know,
Yep.
like a hawk.
Yeah.
You know,
Yep.
and then later it doesn't matter.
Yeah,
You know what I mean?
Exactly.
Like,
But at the beginning, it 100%
for sure,
does.
for
yeah.
sure. Is that how you started yours? Essentially, you know, like, you didn't take on any investors or anything like that in your business, right?
Nope.
In the beginning or anything?
The only I got probably $4,000, maybe $5,000. It was a piece of equipment that ended up. I think they leased half of it to me, so I had to pay like a $10,000 machine. I put down $5,000, and then they leased me the other $5,000. And then once I paid that off, after that, I didn't take on any debt until I bought I bought the Nabisco building, that first building. That was the only debt that I took on.
Yeah, yeah.
And
So a mortgage, right?
yeah, basically, yeah. And so you're going to have rent anyway. So
Right.
that was the only debt. Everything besides that was all done with. And I started the entire company with $150.
Yeah. Yeah, that's awesome. man.
$150. And so you don't. That's one thing I used to think a lot of times was, you got to have all of this money to get started, to build
Right.
this business. And it's just like, no, you don't. And if you can start a business with $100, it just makes it, and you build that skill of being able to do so, it makes it that much easier if you do lose everything.
Mm-hmm.
Because if you started a business, brought off with $1 million, loan, and then that business fails, the only way that you know how to start a business is with $1 million loan, and then if it's failed, the bank's not going to give you $1 million again.
Oh, no.
Yeah, so you're going to have to start from scratch. And so starting from scratch, helps a lot. I think.
Yeah. That's really interesting. And not taking on money, like I don't know, like, it would be different anyway, taking on other money in the beginning. Like, okay, you said you don't have to have that money, right? Like, so what do you need, in your opinion, to start and to ultimately succeed at whatever level anybody wants to? Everybody's got different goals, right?
Yeah.
Some people want to have a 100M business. You know
Yeah.
what I mean? Some people just want to make $150,000, $200,000 rather than making 60. You
Yeah.
know what I'm saying? So
Yeah.
everybody's got different goals. What do these people need to be an entrepreneur, a proprietor, a business owner, and what are they getting themselves into? Yeah,
They're getting themselves into a lot, that's for sure.
Yeah.
But ultimately, what you need are the skills and the knowledge. That's the money will come if you have all those. So you could take away my entire company right now, and that's what There's a lot of people out there that I've made mad over the years. You're gonna get a whole bunch of enemies that wish you the worst.
Yeah.
But the one thing that they don't understand is I've mastered the skill. I have all the skill. I have all this knowledge. So even if something did happen to the company, even if I did lose everything, it wouldn't be very hard for me to just do it again.
Yeah.
And it's like, I wish they understood that. It would make them have less animosity towards me if they understood that in order to get there, you have to put in a lot of work.
Yeah, but for them to understand that, they would have to confront themselves.
Yep.
Unfortunately, that's where it is, and a lot of people who act out like that or are jealous of other people or this or that.
The one thing that I see, and I don't know if it's, maybe it is jealousy, but I see this a lot.
Sure, that's popped in there a little bit.
I see this a
sure.
lot with. So I had a disgruntled employee one time. He was a former athlete. He was a really good athlete, and I liked the guy. Until the very end there, where things got really, really rocky. But he had a lot of success as an athlete.
Yeah.
And he expected that success to basically allow him shortcuts in business and in personal growth. And what I tried to tell him was that's not how it works. Yeah, you started at the bottom and you climbed this mountain, but if you want to get to this mountain, you got to go back to the bottom and climb back up again. You You can't just hop over. That's not how that works. Just because you're this high right now doesn't mean you can start this high on this mountain and climb that. You got to go back down to the bottom if you want to just climb a different mountain. And I see that a lot with people that have had success in the past, where they've had success once and they do not want to start back at the bottom, and they have that ego of, I don't have to start back at the bottom, and they don't see it that way, but that's ultimately what it is. And so that's why, like, I love putting myself in situations where I feel like an idiot, because it keeps me down at the to know what that feeling of starting at the bottom and having to climb that mountain again. Yeah. And so I really enjoy putting myself in those types of scenarios, because it keeps you grounded, and it allows you to constantly grow. Yeah. Right? Yeah. If you're at the top of the mountain, where else are you going to go?
Yeah. Yeah, that's really interesting. I've seen that a lot too, and I've been victim of that. You feel success in different areas, and we talk about that with the comfort. You know? Those people are comfortable. They're comfortable identifying with themselves as the successful version of themselves when they succeeded at that other thing.
Exactly, and it would be really, really easy for me to get very comfortable
right now.
Right now I could get very, very and I've put myself in situations, and then honestly I end up being miserable.
Yeah.
Let's
talk about that.
Yeah, man. I end up being less happy. It's a
why
weird...
do you think, and give me an example a little bit, if you can think about it.
So I recently told someone this. I don't really set goals anymore.
Okay.
I set goals, but not the same type of goals I used to set in the past. So, like, whenever I was in high school and I was running track, I would set a goal if I want to win state, and then I won state. But as soon as I won state, it was like, I was expecting to feel this magical power of I've accomplished this goal, and it was more like how you feel the day of, like, a birthday. It's like, just another day.
Yeah, or the day after Christmas.
Yeah, exactly.
You know what I mean?
It does feel good in the moment.
Yeah,
for a little bit, and it's like it's I kind of liken that to, like, happiness and money, right? Can money make you happy? It can buy temporary happiness, right? Money can make you happy, but it does not bring happiness.
Yeah.
And fulfillment.
Yeah.
And so I don't really set goals like that anymore with a destination.
Yeah.
My goal is to be better than who I was yesterday. My goal is to read more books. My goal is to, grow. My goal is to, is to accomplish not necessarily things that have a destination. And I recently told this to we had this company dinner, and it says a man that enjoys the walk will walk a lot further than a man that enjoys the destination.
Yeah.
And so one thing that I've noticed about myself, and I don't know if this is how everyone feels, but I like the walk. I enjoy the work. Mm-hmm. Once I get to the destination, I just go down a rabbit hole of I just did all this meaningless work to try to fill something, and
some void inside yourself.
Yeah,
maybe.
And I realized that I'm searching for something that doesn't exist. What I'm searching for is the work.
Yeah. This is probably the most important thing that we're talking about right here.
Yep.
I would say, on any podcast that I've done, this is where the really the secret sauce is. There's many variables in life. There's many things that you can do, goals, this, that, the other. They're bad, good, whatever they are.
Yeah.
But getting to a point where you are actually enjoying what you're doing every day because of the growth that you're trying to experience, and not beating yourself up every day because you're not there. Okay, that's a big thing, and I'm sure you've experienced that. I'm sure you beat yourself up when you didn't hit those things. I mean, there's been plenty of those. I've done it too. But understanding that the journey is where the good stuff is, man, that's hard for people to understand, isn't it?
If I would have told younger me that, younger me would have thought I was an idiot.
Yeah,
I would be like, "What? That doesn't make any sense." And until you experience that.
Yeah,
it does. It's like saying money doesn't buy happiness, right? And it's you see a lot of people that don't have money say, "Well, it's easy to say if you got a lot of money," and until you actually experience what it feels like to constantly buy things to fill a void, and have the money to go and buy those things and fill that void just to feel even more empty,
Yeah.
then you realize, yeah, that's a hard concept to really like. I understood that money didn't buy happiness,
Yeah.
but I still chased it.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Until you realize you get there and you're like, no, it really doesn't buy happiness.
But it's still, that's kind of where I'm at. It's like, if you're chasing just money, that's not going to be good. You know what I mean? At the end of the day, I'm a faithful guy. I want to be generous. I want to change my life and walk with God. Myself. So I have to, and I've had trouble with that in the past, like going after extreme amounts of money, associating with myself with people who I shouldn't have associated with, that changed me in a negative way to a certain extent. All these kind of things because my target was the money. But I've came to a place where I think you are too, where going after the money is not the problem. It is a good thing. It's a good thing to want to succeed, and money.
That's what I like. There's all these people that say you need a why, and I'm like, my why was I want to make money.
Well, yeah.
And that's a good why to have to get started. If that's what gets you started, I think that's a good thing. But it's not the end all be all.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
And then you learn that along that journey. You realize it's actually not about the money.
No, but the pursuit of it's a measuring stick for what you're doing. It's a measurement stick of value, and money is something that you can use in a very powerful way to change people's lives, like straight up.
For sure.
So it's an important thing, and money is the most important thing if you don't have any.
Yeah,
you know what I mean.
Yeah.
So when you're first starting,
there was a guy that used to always say that. He'd say, "Money's not important."
Unless you don't have any. And then it is very important. It's the most important thing.
Yeah, exactly.
But yeah, getting to that space where the journey, and I don't know, I'd like to pinpoint where you learned that, where you experienced that. And I think you already talked about it, kind of like when you got to those specific areas where you're like, that's when I will have made it. Right.
Yeah.
You had those things in your mind. Right.
Yeah.
And then you made it, and then you came to that realization. And you self-reflected and you said, okay, well, I don't want to experience this again. I don't want to stop what I'm doing. I don't want to stop succeeding. I don't want to stop striving to become a better person, a better company, all these things.
Yeah.
So you continued, but you did it in a different way, I guess.
So I was in a relationship for a long time. I was like the most strict person on myself whenever I was younger.
Okay.
I
like hard on yourself.
I didn't drink alcohol till I was 25. I didn't have sex for the first time till I was 25. Like I was just extremely focused on like my goals and what I wanted to accomplish.
Okay.
So
that's a big deal there.
Yeah. And I let nothing basically distract me from what I wanted to accomplish.
Very nice. Okay.
So eventually, the Completeful gets started, or the beginnings of Completeful, things start growing. And I had a lot of success whenever I was younger, whenever I was in that network marketing company, whenever I was 21, 22 years old.
Right.
I had all this success, and then me and the owner of the company got into an argument. I get kicked out, and then I felt what it was like to lose everything.
Yeah.
And so I was like, I'm never doing that again. Mm-hmm. So for 7, 8 years, I didn't take any trips. I didn't go to any parties. I didn't do any of those things. I just all day, every single day, it was work. And I ended up getting out of that relationship once Completeful had a lot of success.
Okay.
Yeah. Neither one of them had wanted to do with the other.
Okay.
But I ended up getting out of that relationship, and then it's kind of weird. You're looking back, and I'm like, okay, now I've got all this money, I'm single, and I can go out and pretty much do whatever I want.
Mm-hmm.
And you start dabbling in that, right? So now it's like, okay, I bought a McLaren, I'm taking private jets everywhere, I'm taking girls, we're going to different countries, pretty much every week.
Yeah.
Right? And from the outside in, that looks really cool.
Yeah.
Right. Being able to do all those things.
That's what everybody on Instagram is wanting to see.
Yeah. That's what they want to see. And
right.
What they don't realize is in doing that, and I'm kind of like King Solomon, I denied myself nothing in which my eyes desired.
Mm-hmm.
So everything I saw, I went after it and got it. And if you've got enough money, you can pretty much do that. And so I would just blow through money and buy all kind of stuff and did all kind of really cool. I have some really cool memories from that. So I will say that it was really cool experiences. But it made me the most unhappy I have ever been in my life.
All right, this is good.
Absolutely miserable.
All right.
Because you're just basically distracting yourself with pleasures.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, you're off balance.
Yeah, and once you have no purpose, all you're going to do is distract yourself with those pleasures.
Yeah.
And so my purpose.
How long of a period of time you think was that there? You know, where you were like really blowing through it, really, you know, kind of, you know, staying the same and just distracting yourself like that.
I'm gonna say this went on for a year and a half.
Okay.
Yeah, year and a half, and it just you can see it. You can see it happening. You know that it's happening, but you don't really know how to stop it.
Yeah.
Because you're so addicted to that lifestyle.
Oh yeah, the comfort.
The comfort.
Yeah.
Not just the comfort,
the
but
pleasure.
It's the pleasure and that dopamine spike of,
Yeah.
you know, I'm taking this girl on this trip, and I'm taking all these girls and going over here, and then I'm going over and doing this, and then I get a jet over here to do that, and I've got buying this car, and I'm renting these Lambos, and it spikes, you know, it spikes up that dopamine. So it's a really, really hard thing to break.
Yeah.
It really is.
Yeah, dude.
It really is until
it's just funny because it's like most people have like a nicotine habit they need to break it. Yours was private jets and international trips.
Yeah,
and Lambos.
Everyone
I
like to ask people when I meet them, especially people I meet for the first time, like, if I gave you all the money and you had all the time in the world right now, like, what would you do?
Yeah. Yeah.
And most people say, I would travel the world. And I was like, you do realize that gets old. you want to travel the world because you haven't traveled the world yet.
Yeah.
And so you've done it, you know, for months at a time.
Right.
And it becomes a work.
Yeah.
Then you realize this isn't. You need to find that whatever it is in your life that it wakes you up in the morning, keeps you up at night.
Yeah.
And that's the only thing that you want to work on.
So what got you out of your, you know, international private jet habit?
Man,
so funny. I've never said that to anybody.
Yeah, to be honest with you, it was just I went through a period of work where I had to work a lot.
Yeah, kind of kick you back in, maybe.
Kind of kick me back in,
and you realize, oh, work is cool. You know,
yeah.
like probably.
Because then through that year and a half, I wasn't doing a whole lot.
Wasn't
of work.
killing it.
Yeah, wasn't doing a whole lot of work.
Okay,
and the business kind of stagnated at that point, and so. Once I got back into work and just at the end of each day was feeling that fulfillment.
Yeah.
Like, man, I killed it today.
Yeah.
Yeah. And that brought up so many more happy memories and happy thoughts versus being at a mansion, having a whole bunch of people inside, and I'm in a bedroom by myself. Like, what am I doing?
Yeah. Yeah. Interesting.
Yeah. What am I doing here?
Yeah.
Yeah. And it's crazy because everybody you scroll through Instagram and everybody wants to be that person.
Everybody's fascinated with it. I guess everybody wants to, you know, a lot of people, you know, if they're not super grounded in what they're doing, if they don't really know, you know, who they are or what they're doing or why they're doing it or where they want to go. Like, yeah, for sure, everybody wants to experience that.
It's called I think Joe Rogan came up with this. It's called the value difficulty conflation. You ever heard of that?
No.
It's the value difficulty conflation. So
value difficulty conflation.
Inflation. So
it's hard to say.
When people see something that's difficult to attain, they all of a sudden
want it.
Well, they give it value.
Okay.
Right. It's got this inherent value.
Makes sense.
But that's not the case. Just because it's difficult to attain. So, like, I think the way the guy presented it was like, look at the guy. You know, look at this guy that's got this beautiful girl. He's got a Rolex on. He's got a yacht. He's got a nice car, private jet. Look at all the things he has, and that's difficult to attain. To have all that, right?
Yeah.
So it must bring some value.
Right.
But it doesn't.
Yeah,
It brings no value to your life. Brings no fulfillment. And so a lot of people see things that are difficult to attain, and they think that that's going to bring some sort of value to their life, not realizing that it does pretty much the opposite.
Yeah.
Yeah. And until you've experienced that, until you've made all the money and bought all the things and done all those things, it's hard to realize that that is actually the case. And so whenever I see people on Instagram like that, that's immediately what I think. I'm like, they're
You
miserable.
know for sure.
I'm like, if they're faking it, maybe they're not that miserable. But if
Yeah,
they're
it's just
actually
a
doing
business
it,
move,
yeah,
you
I was
know?
like, they're miserable. Like
Yeah.
I know because I've been there. And you can post all the smiles and post all the happiness you want, but I know the truth.
Yeah.
Because I've been there and I've done it, and I've posted all the smiles, and it would seem from everyone on the outside in, I couldn't tell you how many hundreds of people had messaged me saying, "I wish I had your life."
Yeah.
Meanwhile,
Yeah. What were the messages like when you were posting that? So that.
yeah, man, I wish I had your life. Man, I wish I could do this. Man, that's amazing. I wish I could do this. I wish I could do that. And what's crazy is people saying that made you feel good,
Yeah, the dopamine, another one.
made you
know?
feel good,
Yeah.
but you knew that you were unhappy.
Yeah.
It's like it's this weird vicious circle of I'm going to keep doing this because people are, maybe they're jealous, or maybe they see something you want and they're reaching out to you and saying all these things, and maybe it's some sort of insecurity. You keep doing it because you like the attention.
Yeah. Yeah.
And then you're going down a very slippery
at some point
slope.
you need the attention, right?
Yeah. You're going down a
where you didn't your whole life, right? When you were younger and you didn't have a job and you didn't have businesses, you didn't need that. Everybody has those insecurities as a kid or whatever. Everybody's got a different story and they need different things.
And I've gone through like patterns in my life where I've experienced that. So like I used to have a couple of Corvettes, and I would drive those around, and I felt like the shit whenever I was driving those around. Right? I was like, look at me, this nice car.
Yeah,
and then I realized that I was insecure. I was only driving that car to try to impress people.
Yeah.
And so I sold it, and I drove I bought a little Chevy Cruze, and so I drove a Chevy Cruze around for the longest time. What's funny is a lot of people in my circle thought that my business wasn't doing well.
Yeah.
And it was growing 300-400% year over year. And I'm making at this time well over $1 million a year, and I'm driving a Chevy Cruze around.
Yeah.
And never upgraded my lifestyle. If anything, I downgraded my lifestyle. Didn't go on any trips. Didn't do anything, and stayed like that. And so, part of it's like you got to have some sort of balance there, I feel like. And so I go through these phases where it's just like work 100%, and then I do that. And I just work myself to death until it's like, now I'm gonna go lash out and go out and and party and and have fun. But that's I have a problem with balance. I'm like 0 or 1. I'm all in or I'm all out. I don't.
That's a good topic.
I have a very hard time of saying I'm gonna work a little bit today and enjoy myself a little bit today. It's either all work one day and maybe I'll enjoy myself tomorrow, or that's work-life balance to me. It's like work, and then live every now and then.
Yeah. I have similar, man. It's hard when you're an entrepreneur or you're a business owner and you're dealing with the many different things that has that requires. I mean, sometimes like balance, you can't actively balance your life at some points. I mean, if your customers need this and that, and you're the only guy that's really going to make that happen, and the success of your company depends on you doing something, it's either you do it or you don't, and you got to live with the consequences. Like it's just hard.
And I think you have to kind of choose. So you can have the perfect work-life balance with friends and everything else, but if you want to reach some ultimate level of success, some very high level of success, you cannot have work-life balance. You are going to have to give up. Like, I used to have a bunch of friends, used to always be going out and hanging out with people and this and that. And so now I've gotten to the point where I've had to pretty much say no to everyone and everything. It's just, I'm going to work. I'm going to get myself to the point where I want to be, and then I can come back and start experiencing, the friendships and all those things. And so
when you know that now, you just said it.
Yeah.
Do you think that you're going to regret that?
No.
Okay. Yeah.
No.
Why?
You ever read Winning, Tim Grover?
I don't know. It sounds familiar, but I don't think I've read it.
It's a good book.
Yeah.
And I'll tell you, kind of give you the story out of his book. I kind of related to.
Yeah.
And he said that he was Michael Jordan's trainer.
Okay.
And so he said Michael Jordan was relentless, and so was
Right.
he. So they worked around the clock all the time, never had time for hardly anything. And he had a daughter. I have no idea how old she was. She was 4 or 5 years old and had like a birthday party the next day. And he was leaving that night, taking a plane somewhere to a game. And he was talking to his daughter, and she started crying. Says, "Daddy, I don't want you to leave. I really want you to stay here. I want you to be here for my birthday." And he said he broke down and cried. Talked to his wife. Said it was one of the hardest things he ever did. But he got on the plane and he went to work and took care of everything he needed to. And for years, he said he didn't know if he had made the right decision. He said he said even today it still kind of haunts him. He said, but once his daughter got to somewhere in her 20s, she came to him and she said, "Hey, remember whenever you left and you weren't there all the time?" She was like, "I'm proud of you."
Yeah.
She's like, "I know that had to be hard to do." And she was like, "I'm glad you chased your dreams and worked hard to be the person that you are." And she was like, "I just want to say that I'm proud of you." And that changed the way that he thought about it. He was like, he's like, and obviously there's some circumstances that are a little bit more crazy than that.
Sure.
But at the end of the day, you do have to, go out and chase those things. And once you get there to them, then you can kind of come back and have that social life that you want. At least that's, maybe someone else can do it. I'm not saying that's the way to do it. That's just the way that I'm going to do it.
Yeah,
That's the way that works for me.
Yeah, I'm just curious because everybody's different. I've seen some very successful people do it different ways and think about it in a different way. But I just think that, me personally, I just think the balance looks different for everyone in everybody's life. Everybody has different friends, has different social circles, has a different family environment.
And also, some people can accomplish things completely different than others. Like for me, if I have a task that I want to get done, and let's say it's going to take me an hour, and I have this 1 hour slot in my day, it's really hard for me to just basically squeeze that task in.
I know.
But there are some people out there that can squeeze that task in. It's like, maybe I can squeeze another 15 minutes and put, and they're just ultra precise at being able to get those things done. And I'm not. It's knowing yourself well enough to know which path is going to work, the best for me.
Yeah, I'm kind of similar to that too. Tell me if you think a little bit like me. I like to get very deep into things. So when I start something, I want to take it to its conclusion uninterrupted.
Yes, correct.
You know what I'm saying? I want to get inside of it, and I can't just stop it because I've got a meeting and then pick it up the next day.
No,
nah, dude,
I can't.
I'm going all the way.
Yeah.
And leave me alone. Let's do this.
It's a lot. Programmers are a lot of people that think like that. Like programmers are that way as well. Whenever you're programming, you have to dive in. You have to get in that flow state.
The flow.
You have to get in that flow state where you're working on something and spending relentless hours on it. And if you're constantly having to
interrupt,
you're just it's like stopping and starting a car. It's a lot easier to get to the destination if you just one drive all the way there instead of making all these stops.
Yeah.
And because then you got to get started again. You got to start the car again. You got to get motivated again. So I'm the same way. But there are some people out there that can say, "Hey, this is going to take me an hour. I'll spend 12 minutes on it in the morning. I'll spend 48 minutes on it."
That's crazy, man.
I can't do that.
I mean, neither.
Yeah.
We talk. I've had a lot of people on, and when we talk about scheduling, what does your schedule look like? Do you just show up and then meetings start coming to you? Do you have does your assistant, put a rigid thing there, and you just kind of throw some things out, or what do you do?
I've tried to have an assistant. I have an assistant, but I've had try to have my assistant set up things like that for me.
Yeah.
And I can't do it.
I know.
That's not the way that I work. So I remember, and it's to give two extreme examples of this, Warren Buffett is one. There's nothing on his schedule. He never has anything planned.
Yeah.
Bill Gates, whenever he was building Microsoft, had, I think it was every 3 minutes of his schedule planned out.
Yeah.
Crazy.
That's wild.
And then when Bill Gates realized that Warren Buffett didn't really have a schedule, he was like, "I'm doing too much."
Yeah.
Yeah. And I'm kind of that way. Like, I want my schedule to be as free as possible.
Yeah.
So because so many things happen to me spontaneously that if
Sure.
I did have a schedule, it would just get ruined every day.
Every day.
Yeah.
Yeah.
There would be no way for me to keep. I would be able to get, because there's a lot of important things that happen, and in order to get that schedule done, I would have to stay on task that I assigned myself the day before I knew that this important thing was going to pop up.
Yeah.
And if you do that, you're just doing pointless work, basically. You know, for me, it's like, what's more of a priority? I'm gonna work on that.
Yeah.
I start at the highest priority item first. I work my way down, and I try to keep I hate meetings.
Yeah.
I hate meetings. I think meetings are, for the most part, pointless.
Yeah.
And I try, if anybody's in a meeting taking up anybody's time, I cut them off.
Yeah.
No. I'm
Yeah.
just, no. Do not talk. If
Yeah.
you don't have anything that's relevant to everyone, we don't. Yeah, I can't stand wasting people's time. I am obsessed with being efficient.
Yeah.
And so, like, my dad knows this about me, and this was a couple weeks ago. He was bringing some plants down here. My dad's a farmer.
Yeah.
He's bringing some plants down here. And he was like, "Hey, you want to ride with me real quick?" And he's like, "I'm going to go drop these plants off." He's like, "We can, have lunch and talk or whatnot." So, yeah, sure. So we go by, and I'm helping them unload this trailer, and the guy brings this forklift over. And if you could choose the most inefficient way to do something, this is the way that they were trying to unload this trailer with this forklift.
Yeah.
And I was like, "What are we doing?"
Yeah.
And so I'm sitting there going along with it. My dad looked at me and he was like, "This is killing you, isn't it?"
Yeah.
And I was like, "This is driving me insane."
Yeah. I do the same thing.
This is driving me, and it gets to the point where I will turn into a tyrant.
Yeah.
Really fast.
Yeah.
And I don't know any of these people here, but I'm
Yeah.
about to start telling them what to do.
Yeah.
Because this is dumb. And I like that. There's a different side of me whenever I get into that. Like, I remember reading that there was a Elon Musk would go into this, what they call it, like demon mode or something like
Yeah.
that. And he was like, because he's charismatic most of the time and talk, but he'd go into states where it was just like he's a demon. Like, he's going out. He's just a man on a mission to get stuff done.
Yeah.
And what's funny is I would think back about some of the days that, like, some of the like crazy work days that I had, and I was like, I'm glad somebody else like experiences that too, because
Yeah.
it does come off very abrasive. You just come in and you just, instead of explaining to you in a nice way why I need you to get something done, I don't have enough time. Hey, you over here, do that.
Yeah.
Nope, not right now. And
Yeah.
you have to, if you have one of those days where you have to get that much stuff done, and there's that many things being thrown your way, you do have to be able to turn that switch, and you don't even realize that. I don't realize that I'm doing it until it's happened after the fact.
Yeah, for sure, man. So what was I gonna say? Yeah, I guess we can kind of start, wrapping it down or winding it down. But I want to get to, like, we've talked a lot about a lot of different topics, a lot of different valuable things for people who are looking to get into business, looking to better themselves, get more efficient, anything that was applicable to your business. But like, besides the advice that we had in the first place with like identifying your product, something like that. Let's imagine, somebody is like kicking the tire and thinking about starting a business,
Yeah.
I want you to give them like the best advice that you can, to get through all of the challenges that they're about to encounter. You know what I mean? Like, what would be your way of preparing someone for entrepreneurship? And I know you can't. We've already talked about it. We talked about, like, you just got to start. You just got to experience those things yourself. But hey, give these people some advice.
I think there's for the most part, there's a lot of people that want to start their own business or want to start this own hobby.
There's millions a year, right? Like,
and what a lot of people do is instead of actually getting started, they'll distract themselves with all these things that feel like they're getting started. Like, hey, I got my LLC set up today.
yeah,
For what?
mm-hmm.
Are you getting sales right now? Why do you have an LLC set up? You're doing all this work basically to not get started.
yeah,
Yeah. How are you going to get sales? That's more important.
Yeah.
How are you going to make money?
Yeah.
Yeah. And if I see a lot of, and I have a friend of mine that's been working on this product for years now, 5 years. And he just constantly keeps working on the product. Never released it, never sold any. Just keeps constantly working on the product.
right,
and never get started actually selling the product.
Yeah. Yeah.
And the thing is like ideas are great, but until you actually start trying to turn that idea into a business, into something, that's when you actually realize that maybe it's not a good idea.
Yeah.
Or you have to figure out how I'm going to bridge that gap from idea to business. And if you're not doing anything that's bridging that gap to get it started, to get sales, you're just procrastinating. But you're procrastinating in a way where it feels like you're doing something. And so I think a lot of people don't get started because they do all these other things.
Yeah. Yeah, because later will be the right time. I need to do this, that, the other, and then I'll be ready.
Set up an LLC once you're making money, and you know whenever you're about to get sued. You know, I've started. I probably have 50 LLCs.
Right.
Some of them I've never used, but I've started way more businesses than 50.
Yeah.
So many, and then if you do go out and you spend all this time in an LLC and then it doesn't work, all you did was waste money setting up an LLC that you never needed. And that just because you have an LLC does not make you a business owner.
No. It just makes you a paper holder.
Yeah,
essentially.
exactly.
And now you have tax obligations. You know.
And then now you've got
filing.
Now you've got more
annual
work.
reports.
Yeah.
Yeah. I've been in that trap. I've because I'm an attorney too. You know.
Yeah.
Like so I go crazy with paperwork sometimes. So I've started some businesses. I was like, oh, we're gonna go here. Boom, 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 boom. I'm filing all this paperwork, and
I think
just to reverse it later.
I think to sum it up is it's really easy to be busy.
Yeah.
Really easy to be busy. I mean, ants are busy, right? That's the quote goes. It's really easy to be busy. It's really hard to not be busy and be productive.
Yeah.
So if you could be productive and not be busy, you've mastered the skill that you need. And all that comes down to is doing the little things that you're not doing.
Yeah. That's interesting.
It's all everything that you want that business to be can be found in the little things that you're avoiding.
Yeah.
And some people avoid it because it's like a pride thing where they're like, I'm too good to do that, or I'm not. And it goes back to what I was talking about at the mountain, right? You've climbed up, you've climbed this social ladder, and you're an attorney, right?
Yeah.
Now you had to start in a completely different arena, and now you started from the bottom doing podcasting and making videos, right?
Yeah.
And so someone would like.
And in construction, I do construction.
Yeah, and so
I didn't know anything about that. I started it with zero experience. I just got outside and started doing it, and I had that. I think I told you that the first time we talked is I had that same feeling when all my friends or perceived all my friends were making $100,000+ right out of law school. They got a good job or whatnot. And I was painting a wall, for somebody else, for one of my jobs that I just figured out how to do. I was like, what the heck am I doing? And I had that moment. But I've gotten over that over time. And I realized it was a beautiful moment, really.
I remember whenever the first year that Completeful had started, the first 6 months, I was in a room. It was in my house. I hadn't got a warehouse yet. So it was in a bedroom of my house. And my brother came over. And I had probably worked for 72 hours straight. Hadn't left that room. Like I'm beat. And he comes in there and he's like talking to me, and he's like, I don't understand, why you're working this much, and I don't understand, he's like, this isn't the way, this isn't how people, acquire wealth, and this isn't how they do it, this and that. And I was like, what makes you think that? And he's like, you said you think Kevin Hart is in a bedroom right now engraving knives? And I was like, no, but there was a point whenever he was doing something, standing up, doing shows, where he felt like, what am I doing? And I was like, he had to go through the same challenges of, I'm having to put myself in a situation that makes me, one, feel less valuable, and two, look less valuable to everyone else, or be perceived as less valuable to those around me. And if you're not willing to do that, you're never going to build a big business.
Yeah, it's pride, isn't it?
It is.
Yeah,
it's all ego. It's all pride.
Yeah, you have got to start at the bottom sometimes and scrape that floor.
Yeah.
Like it's just a part of the process, and it's a blessing, really.
It really is.
Once you go, this is my advice. I would say, you know, if you're avoiding that because of your pride, what you're going to get out of scraping that floor is so much more valuable than anything you think you already have.
Yep.
Because you are going to find a different person.
Yep.
And you're going to become a different person.
You will become a different person.
You have to, and that's what I perceive entrepreneurship as. You know, it's not as much business, which it is business. It's about finding yourself through that journey, because your businesses are a reflection of you. You know, and if your businesses aren't doing good and you're not succeeding and you're putting those things out on the wall that you want to hit and you're not hitting them, you have to adjust and you have to become the person that is hitting those marks on the wall.
Yep.
You know, that's what it's going to take for your business to get there. And but without scraping that floor and realizing that nobody's there for you and it's only you in that room scraping that floor, like, you got to have that moment. And it's really an awesome thing.
It is.
You know,
Yeah.
because you thinking about your you know, that moment with your roommate, you know, I mean, I'm sure you reflect on that all the time.
Yep.
You know, you think about that moment. You think about who you were then and what steps you took to better yourself, to become something different, to become a bigger version of yourself, you know, and without doing it, it's not there.
And what's crazy is like now, like just about everyone that knows me, my friends and stuff, know I've had, you know, a good amount of success. And I started making these videos, started, you know, doing the shorts and stuff. And one of my really good friends was like, he came to me, he's like, man, there's all these people, you know, talking shit, saying, why is Josh making these videos? Why is he doing this? And why is he doing that? And it's funny, I was like, because if those people could have seen me getting started with Completeful, they would have said the same thing.
Yeah.
Why is he doing that? Why is he engraving those knives? Why is he got all these packages in his house?
Yeah.
And what they don't realize is you got to start at the bottom.
Yeah.
That's the only way that you're going to be able to grow.
Yeah.
Yeah. And if you're willing to do that, you can accomplish anything.
Yeah.
Yep.
Awesome, man. I think that's a great way to wrap it up,
Yeah,
man.
yeah.
It was great to have you on. I
Thanks for
appreciate
having
it,
me.
man.
Yeah.
It was, man, some valuable stuff. You're in a different spot than a lot of people. Very unique spot, and I hope some people take a lot of those nuggets with it. But I appreciate you being on, man.
Absolutely, man.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Life is one big head game.